Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Corsair Nightsword RGB. This is a performance tunable FPS/Moba gaming mouse from Corsair that might look familiar if you watch my latest videos, because it looks painfully similar to the Logitech G502 Lightspeed. That's not to say that Corsair has stolen the design from Logitech by any means, because it also bears a striking resemblance to the Corsair Dark Core mouse that I reviewed previously, and I'll compare them later in the video so you can see that. Now this is an unboxing video and a quick overview of what outwardly appears to be a really awesome little gaming mouse. I do say little because it's quite small in the hand in the same way that the Dark Core is. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing though. It is a very contoured, nicely ergonomic mouse, and it boasts a number of really interesting features, as with any brilliant Corsair mice. Now, it maxes out at 18,000 DPI, and it has a mass of tunable, programmable buttons that include 10 different buttons, including DPI up and down buttons, profile switching buttons, and Corsair's sniper button, which I'll show you in a bit more depth later on. But this one also comes with a tunable weight system. Basically means you get a number of different weights, as you can see from the instruction manual, that you can put in the bottom to customize the weight and feel of the mouse to your own preference. There's different size weights as well, so they give you a different weighting, and you can choose where to mount them in 6 different locations underneath the mouse, and I'll show you that in a little while. And I like that sort of design because it basically means that you can make the mouse personalised to your own preference. Not only adjusting the speed of the DPI and the layout of the buttons, and whether you're adding macros or custom programs to each of the buttons, but also the feel of the mouse. Now, one thing of disappointment I will note is two things actually, is it's wired. So it's not wireless like the Dark Core, which is a real shame. And the side grip is not removable or changeable. So the Dark Core has the benefit of having a grip on both sides, thumb rest, which I really like. Unfortunately, the Nightsword RGB does not have that. It is, however, not to be dismissed. If you're after a wired gaming mouse and aren't too bothered about being wireless, and want something that's tunable in terms of weight balance and whatever else, and has a mass of different programmable buttons, because 10 buttons is quite a lot of buttons, and this might well be the mouse for you. It also has a really nice button layout based on the initial impressions. A lot of the familiar designs to it as well. Now underneath there's a simple removable hatch, and you can see the different areas where you can put in the little weights, which I'll show you in a minute. You'll also note this sort of textured, contoured design to it. Looks very comfortable. On the side there you can see there are multiple different buttons. That's the DPI up and down buttons there, the profile buttons just below the mouse wheel, and back and forth buttons default, and the sniper button on the left next to the thumb. Those are all programmable, of course. You can change them to whatever you want. Now you can see there are 6 different weights that you can attach. There are 3 4.5 gram and 3 2.8 gram weights that you can put in any configuration on those 6 spots underneath the mouse. And the Corsair iCue software will automatically detect each weight and where it's been put as well, which is pretty clever. So you can see the hollowed out ones, they're the 2.8 gram ones, and then obviously the solid ones are the slightly heavier ones. So you might take some time to tune and work out where you want to put them, which is the best one for you. I'd assume that you'd want to put the heavier ones on the right, because you'll obviously have the thumb rest on the left. It's worth noting here, obviously, that this is a right-handed gaming mouse. There's not much catering to the lefties with this mouse, which is pretty common. Now, as I said, I was immediately struck by how much it looked like the Dark Core. There's quite a similarity to it, and I'll show you in a minute for comparison's sake. And I really like the Dark Core. It's an excellent wireless mouse. It is expensive, but it is also wonderfully designed. And some of the design aspects of that mouse are here as well. It has that contoured shape to it, nice textured grip, the side thumb rest, and the multitude of buttons. It's really nice to have easy access to the DPI switching buttons, profile switching, also just general comfort. Despite being small, I've got quite large hands, so I do prefer bigger mice in general, but despite being small, it is comfortable in the hand, has been comfortable to use so far, and basically feels quite like the Dark Core in that way, and that is no bad thing. You'll also note as it is wired, but it does come with the wonderfully premium braided cables that Corsair are well known for. Now the mouse wheel is also textured, that looks pretty cool. One thing of note is there's no sideways press, so you can't press side to side on it, that is not an option. I've seen people complaining about that on Corsair videos I've done in the past, and you will see that sort of sideways action on some Logitech mice, so you do see it elsewhere. However, I think the fact that it's got 10 programmable buttons is probably enough anyway. I suppose that would add an extra 2, so it would be nice if you're into that sort of thing, but I always find that left to right push is a bit tricky anyway, because you might accidentally press the mouse wheel in rather than side to side, so it's quite easy to do. You can see here just how it sits in the hand. Now if you want to get a vision and a sound test of what the buttons sound like, I'm going to do an ASMR style video, commentary free, so you can enjoy that. Here you go with the Dark Core on the left. Comparison's sake, you can see it's filthy and well used, well loved, but this is what it looks like by comparison. You can see the design similarities to it, the way the textured grip sits, the contours, the lines, and the thumb grip rests on the left. One big difference with the Nightsword is the RGB lighting, which you'll see a bit later on. There is a lot of RGB areas on this mouse that has a lot more lighting to it, so if you were a bit disappointed with the number of RGB lighting panels on the Dark Core, then the Nightsword might well be for you. The textured grip is slightly different. You'll note on the Dark Core it sort of bubbles up, on the Nightsword it goes in, but otherwise they're quite similar. Now the grips on the Dark Core, at least on one side, will come off. They don't come off at all on the Nightsword. That is stuck down, and there's no option to have one on the right hand side, which is a shame because it would be really nice to have a rest for your pinky. I really like that on the Dark Core. Again, a shot of the weight system, which is very snazzy and well done. The grips on the Nightsword RGB are also very comfortable. I think it's going to be a very comfortable mouse to use. It sits really nicely in the hand. The cabling is also sufficiently long for use on the desk without any unnecessary tugging. Now you'll note as a close-up view, now it's plugged in, you can see the DPI indicator on the side there. You can change the colour of that within the iCue software, which I'll show you in a bit. And it also shows you the levels that you're currently switched on. There are just 3 adjustable DPI levels, with the 4th one customizing in terms of the sniper mode. So you can set 3 different levels to whatever your preference is, from obviously 1 to 18,000. Having a short, small one for Windows perhaps, and then massive for in-game. And then a low number for sniper mode if you want a bit of more accuracy. You can see here the switching between them. You can go up and down in either direction. So if you just keep pressing up, eventually it will go back to the bottom one. So that shows that you could still keep one of the DPI buttons and easily switch the rest with something else. You can see here the sniper button. That sets it into the low DPI mode, which is 400 by default, but you can tweak that so you have a more accurate shot. See another close-up of the Nightsword RGB alongside my Corsair K95 Platinum, which also needs a clean. Here in the iCue software you can get a look at the mouse, and you can actually see all the different buttons that you can program. You can obviously set macros and set up special button changes for all the buttons until your heart's content, setting whichever button you want to whatever you want as well. iCue software has always been very flexible in that way, and there's plenty of different actions that you can assign to each of the different buttons, and obviously you can set profiles, and the profile switching button allows you to change between them on the fly as well. Again, those buttons are also customizable, so you can basically do whatever you want with them, and there's plenty of different customization options here. and even the default settings are nice anyway. There's obviously going to be a personal preference onto what you use and how you use it. Even something like recording a macro on specific buttons, if you wanted to set up reload, for example, as one of the buttons, or to carry out multiple actions at once, then that's easy to do. The next section is lighting effects. Now there are numerous lighting effects that you can implement here, including instant lighting, which obviously allows you to switch between various different colours, and then that syncs across the various Corsair peripherals you might have. In my case, I've obviously got the K95 Platinum and the Corsair case with multiple different RGB peripherals and components in it, so you can get the mouse to line up with those, and I'll just show you what that looks like. You can obviously also dive into the standard settings and have static lighting or lighting link as well. The highlight to the Nightsword RGB is the multiple zones of lighting, because it does have several different zones on it, as you've already seen, front, back and sides. It basically has a lot of lighting going on, and it's still very nice. A little bit of light bleed without being overly garish. You can see a close-up view here and the nice glow that it gives off, and it is nice to have that synchronization with other components as well, especially if you're a big Corsair fan. You can see you've got the lighting around the wheel, around the back, around the sides, on the logo. Obviously the logo will be covered by your hand while you're using it. But otherwise, when you're playing at night, you have a bit of light bleed onto your desk. And you can obviously turn that off or set it to static and adjust until your heart's content. But it's certainly a highlight. If you like RGB lighting, then this is probably one of the most well lit mice I've seen from Corsair. But that's not the main appeal for me. I think the ergonomics and the comfort of it are more important, and the multitude of buttons and customization features. Now, as I said, you also got the lighting link option, and you can choose between multiple different lighting settings in the software, iCue software, which I'll put a link in the description to as well. And you can see there's all the usual effects you'd expect. And again, it's just an example of how customization is key in this mouse. There's loads of different things that you can do with it, and you can switch between these really easily as well. Now, DPI, as I mentioned already, there's only 3 different levels of DPI, excluding the sniper mode, because that's counted as separate. You can see the indicator on the side shows you what level you're in, but you can also change the sniper indicator. So as standard, when you press that sniper button, it goes yellow to let you know that you're in sniper mode. You have to press and hold it, and that puts it on the lower DPI setting, so you have a more accurate shot. But you can change that colour. You can also change the colour of the DPI indicator to be whatever you want, and then you can set each of the levels, and you switch between them on the fly by just pressing those buttons. It's really easy to do. You can adjust the performance of the mouse in terms of angle snapping and pointer precision, and you can also calibrate to the whatever surface you're using. I'm using my desk, but also one of the cloth gaming surfaces from Corsair. So if I'm switching between those, you can adjust it nice and easily in there. And then the weight tuning, as I said here, the software can actually see what weights you've got and in what position. It was slightly off, so I opened the mouse up and pushed them in a bit hard, a bit firmer, make sure they were in. But it shows you which ones are where and even the weight of those, and you can adjust it manually in the software if that's not right. So there you have it. This has been a summary of the Corsair Nightsword RGB. As you can see, there's lots of different things to like about this mouse. I think it is going to be a winner, especially if you want a wired gaming mouse with RGB lighting and a mass of buttons, as well as a high DPI and plenty of different settings to play around with and customize until your heart's content. This has been the Provoked Prawn. Hope you like this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Please like, subscribe and come back for more in future. Thanks for watching.